Thank you, everyone. Thank you very much. Just want the doors to be closed. Doors to be closed. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, a very good evening and welcome to what promises to be a truly memorable evening. On behalf of Tanla Platforms and our group companies, Carix and Value First, I extend a warm and a hearty welcome to our enterprise and telco customers, our global strategic partners, board members, and our incredible team. At the core of Tanla's DNA are three enduring principles: innovation, collaboration, and impact. For 3 decades, this DNA has driven us to build innovation at scale, touching billions of users, and what excites us the most is the greenfield landscape that we have always explored. Along with it, it has helped us work in close partnership with our esteemed customers, our regulatory ecosystem, our telco partners, and the broader ecosystem to ensure that every step has been collaborative and always ahead of the curve. And lastly, it has helped us ensure that every innovation we pioneer creates a tangible and a measurable impact in the world. And it's these principles that shaped Wisely.ai, our agentic AI platform built to identify, prevent, eliminate, and bring to the books the growing menace of spam and scam, not just in India, but world over. Today, Wisely.ai is live and delivering real impact at Indosat in Indonesia, at BSNL in India, and with our leading banks in India, safeguarding millions of users in real time every single day. Tonight, we don't just want to talk about it, we want to bring it to life. So without further ado, let's bring the story to life. Please welcome our guests for the fireside chat. A fireside chat from the theme Vision to Impact, driving customer engagement with AI-driven trust. It gives me immense pleasure to invite our host for the fireside chat, who has spent nearly 4 decades as a distinguished global telecom leader, leading one of India's most iconic companies as CEO of Bharti Airtel, shaping global mobile policy as a key voice on the board and executive committee of GSMA, and building a legacy that stretches from telecom to digital services and beyond. We are honored to have him as our board member at Tanla Platforms, where his global perspective and vision continue to shape our journey towards becoming a world-class AI-driven communications enterprise. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Mr. Sanjay Kapoor. Our guest on the fireside chat is a seasoned global telecom leader who has not only defined the arc of the industry, but also built it. A career spanning across some of the most dynamic markets across Asia and Africa, he has held senior leadership roles from being CEO of Bharti Airtel Africa and Managing Director of Bharti Airtel Seychelles, to serving as a CEO of Ooredoo Group in Maldives and Director CEO of Indosat Ooredoo before taking on his current role. Today, he leads one of Indonesia's most transformative telcos, Indosat Ooredoo Hutchison, driving its evolution from a telco into an AI tech co, anchored by a bold vision of AI for all and a deep commitment to digital inclusion and security for every Indonesian. Please join me in welcoming the President, Director, and CEO of Indosat Ooredoo Hutchison, Mr. Vikram Sinha. I hand over the baton to our esteemed host, Sanjay, to take it forward, and we all look forward to it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your kind words and welcome, Vikram. Before we really get down to asking a few questions from the person who is going to be on the firing range for today's chat, let me set up a prelude for what we are going to be discussing. We all know that the global economy is rapidly digitizing, but the trust has become its most crucial foundation. Digital payments are expected to surpass $14 trillion annually by 2027, with more than 5 billion people online. In South and Southeast Asia, nearly 2 billion people are coming online at a record speed, driven by affordable smartphones, low-cost data, and national digital infrastructure initiatives. India's digital economy is projected to cross $1 trillion by 2030, while Indonesia's has already exceeded $100 billion in GMV. Yet, this scale brings vulnerability. Both markets are facing rising cybercrime, digital fraud, and organized scam operations, causing billions of dollars worth of losses each year. Globally, consumers have lost over $1 trillion in scams. Today's fraud is no longer isolated phishing. It is AI-powered, it is cross-border, it is automated, and industrial in scale. This is not just a consumer experience issue anymore. It is an economic issue, it is a systemic risk issue, a trust issue, and it demands great leadership to combat it. It's my privilege to welcome Vikram, who I have known for years and years. We've worked together at Airtel too. He's the President, Director, CEO of Indo Hutchison, and is serving over 100 million customers in that country. Under his leadership, Indosat has accelerated its transformation into a digital-first, AI-enabled telecom operator, expanding networks access across both urban and rural communities. Indosat has evolved as an AI tech company and partnered with Tanla, guided by a powerful vision, AI for all. And that's a very powerful statement that they make. So Vikram, welcome here. And we'll get down to some sharing of insights and questions to you. We've all known about digital fraud becoming more intense. We all know it's eroding trust. And you as a CEO and with your lens, when did you really move it from being a customer complaint issue to a board level issue? Because there must be an inflection point that you want to share with us.
Yeah, first of all, again, it's an absolute honor and privilege, especially having it with Sanjay. You know, I have a long learning history, so thank you, Sanjay, and it's an absolute honor. I think coming back to your question, let me share with all of you a true story. I'm also on the advisory board of MasterCard. I still remember early 2024, one of the board meeting in London, advisory board meeting, the Asia Scam and the GASA, Global Anti-Scam Association, presented the data, and I was blown off. That report shows that in 2024 itself, $5 billion Indonesians have lost. What touched me is these are all middle income, lower income, women, elderly women. This was an eye-opening data for me, number one. Number two, the next key highlight, Sanjay, was every Indonesian, 65% of the Indonesian are facing spam or scam on a weekly basis. So that itself was a trigger for me that Indosat, being such an iconic brand, let me tell you, Indosat is like BSNL of Indonesia. 58-year-old company, first company to connect Indonesia to the world. It became Indosat Ooredoo Hutchison, but people have a lot of expectation. So as a CEO, that was the trigger, Sanjay, that our role is not only to connect, our role is also protect my 100 million customer. And that is where I got very serious, that we need to solve this problem for our 100 million customer.
Yeah, I mean, I think every board worth its while today gets intimidated by this problem that is hitting them. And I'm so glad to hear from you that your board is fully aligned with you on this cause, and you've been able to convince them to say, I really want to go ahead making some serious investments and changes because of this. And my leading question from here is that I just said that scammers are using AI, voice cloning, automated phishing campaigns, synthetic identities. How did you think of AI in the middle of all this? Because it is a new technology, people are still surfacing where they're headed, but you've picked it up as the foundational infrastructure for protecting, this at a national scale. So tell us about that.
So let me put it this way. I'm a very strong believer of fake it till you make it. So I started talking about AI 2 years back, and I had very little understanding of what AI will do. I'm telling you a true story. I was in...
Many people still struggle with that today. So,
But let me tell you, fast forward, I was invited by, I think, Sundar and Google Circle. There were 15 CEOs. This was around a year back. I was on a breakfast table. The joke started by saying that AI is everywhere other than PNL. This is how the breakfast started. But within an hour, I understood companies, countries who have been all in and ahead of the curve and who are solving real problem, they have started seeing value. So for me, if I have to solve a real problem at scale, and that is where we said that if the scammers are using AI, we have heard many stories, and the way they clone their voice, you will be so scared what all are happening. Then we were very clear, we want a partner, we don't need a vendor. We want a partner who can work with us and use AI to solve this real problem. And I have to say, Sanjay, I think you are on their board, Uday is here. We work with 96 vendors. We categorize among them 20 strategic partners, but there are 4 or 5 where I invest time, which becomes very strategic for us. Because I was trying to solve a real problem, I met Uday, and then our commitment was aligned. And that is how, we wanted to make sure that not only we solve it, we do it in a way which should become a global case study.
Great. And with a AI-led model that you've put in place, what are the benefits that are accruing to you at a customer level to begin with?
Yes, because as I said, there's a lot of AI as a toy. We are very clear what we don't want to do. So now that this is my first showcase, I put it on my quarterly result. And then you have been a CEO, you have reported quarterly after quarterly. Until unless you have a substance, you don't put any example on your investor deck. So if you look at my last quarterly investor deck, we have put it there that with Tanla platform, 3 things I'll highlight. Quarter 4, ARPU grew for the industry 3%, we grew 9%. Number 1. Number 2, our churn, because markets are mature, you don't have to be over obsessed with gross ad, and you have to deliver experience. Our churn for serious base greater than 90 days from a level of 3.6, 3.7 have come down to 1.6. And this is just a beginning, Sanjay, because the model is getting trained, and I'm very confident that we'll see much more value going forward.
Yeah. And from here, being an ex-CEO and being a board member for very many years now, this question of ROI always haunts every board to say, you're making an investment in this, it seems to be doing good for your customers. What about the ROI on what you've done?
This is again, and it's a fair question, investment on AI is not small. So until unless you see the impact of AI on your P&L, it will not be scalable. So very clearly, within 6-8 months, we have seen whether it is ARPU, whether it is churn, and the most important thing is, Sanjay, where we lost, if I go back to my last 2 decades of experience, we as telco, we were very inward looking. The biggest thing which we missed was focusing on customer love. I think this is very fundamental. This problem which I'm solving is so fundamental that the role of telco is not only to connect, it is also to give peace of mind. Protection is a big statement, and the channel which is getting used is voice, WhatsApp. So you need to solve it for your customer. Otherwise, you have no business.
I mean, I hear you, and you're a passionate CEO who believes in keeping his ears and eyes to the ground, listening to the customer beat and feedback. But being a board member, there'll come a point in time when these hard questions about ROIs will surface more. So that's for the future. And now a devil's advocate question before we wind it off. Tanla was not a name that was known to you, right? They were not doing anything in Indonesia as well. So how did you make a choice to say Tanla and I'm willing to bet with them?
I had no idea about Tanla or anything. In fact, first time when Uday came to meet me, I thought it's a startup. I'm again being very honest. But then somebody told me they are solving for banks in India. I think we have to understand if somebody is solving this problem for banks, because, spam is one thing, but the bigger issue is scam. And these scams which happen, these are small ticket. These are like 50 rupees, 100 rupees, 500 rupees, and it goes up to as high as $10,000. I'm just giving you example. But then I realized that they have done some good work in India. But I have to say, Sanjay, where it moved from vendor to strategic partnership, we were also very keen that my team want to do a bit of an engineering with them. So we have a full stack AI factory. We have our own GPU cluster. I think there are few things where we have done before India. Our cluster of GB200, H100 was live. So I told Uday, let's train the data, because see the power of compute and GPU. We all talk about TikTok. TikTok was all designed on GPU. They don't even use CPU. So if you have to be ahead of the curve, today on that platform, let me give you 2 data points. Close to 2 billion spam and scam, clearly threat intelligence protected, 2.3 million scammer flagged, and customers are getting real time. As you know, we have grown up on the Airtel values. I spend 5 days every month in the market. I was in a village. I was going to the new capital of Indonesia, which is far-flung. On my way, I stopped my car. I saw an outlet. I asked him, my bhasa still is not good in their language. I asked him, what do you like about Indosat IM3? He said, this SAT spam scam. It's solving real problem. So again, we just launched it on WhatsApp channel also. I think WhatsApp is one of the challenge which is maximum getting misused. So we have to continuously evolve, and this is where Tanla has committed that we will make sure we do it together and we do it properly.
Excellent. These fireside chats have a time limitation, and my stopwatch is telling me we've exceeded time already. So let me wind it off. Vikram, first and foremost, thank you for these insights. What stands out from our conversation today is how digital trust moves from concept to reality, which is what you just described. When over 100 million subscribers are protected by AI, when billions of communications are analyzed in real time, and when millions of malicious actors are stopped within the ecosystem, trust is no longer a promise, it becomes an infrastructure. And what Indosat has shown through AI for All is that inclusion and protection are not trade-offs. They must advance together. So thank you for your insights, Vikram, and it is a pleasure having you today.
Thank you, Sanjay.
Can I request both of you just pose for a picture, please? Thank you very much, Sanjay. Thank you very much, Vikram. Wow, two global leaders, one who defined the yesteryears of telcos across the world, and the other who's redefining and bending the arc to set the future of telecom leveraging AI. Thank you so much, Vikram and Sanjay, for this scintillating talk. Thank you very much. Our next session, ladies and gentlemen, is going to be a panel discussion wherein we have Anshuman Kar, Chief Growth, my apologies, Chief Customer Success Officer of Tanla Platforms, who's going to moderate the panel, AI for Citizen Protection and Securing the Digital Economy. May I request Anshuman to kindly come onto the podium, please. First of our panelists, Mr. Ratan Kesh, Executive Director and Chief Operating Officer, Bandhan Bank. Bandhan Bank is one of the largest and the fastest growing banks in India with over 32 million customers served across 35 states. He's leading multiple functions, including technology, operations, customer experience, and transformation functions. Second of our panelists, Mr. Bipin Preet Singh, Founder and CEO MobiKwik, a leading fintech entrepreneur. At the forefront of India's digital payments evolution, Bipin Preet Singh has built MobiKwik into India's largest digital wallet with over 180 million users. Please welcome Mr. Bipin Preet. Okay, we'll go ahead with the third panelist while we wait for Bipin. Our third panelist, Ms. Neha G. Mahatme, Director, Amazon Pay India, a payments and fintech leader driving customer-centric digital financial experiences at scale, shaping how millions transact seamlessly and securely through the Amazon Pay India app. Please welcome Ms. Neha. Kavya, can I request you to just check with Bipin, please? Maybe Anshuman.
Yeah. Oh, Bipin is on his way.
To Bipin, ladies and gentlemen, Founder and CEO MobiKwik, a leading fintech entrepreneur at the forefront of India's digital payments evolution.
Please come. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. As we just heard in this fireside chat, the problem is big. We just heard numbers of over $1 trillion being lost in the global economy because of scams and frauds. If you think about India in particular, SMS as a channel, almost 70% of the scams originate from that channel. And as messaging itself has expanded into other OTT channels as well, and I'll share some numbers. Now 65 billion SMSs are spent monthly in India. Another 15 billion are sent monthly over OTT channels. So when you look at these numbers, it is clear that it is a channel, while it is important and critical, it's only proliferating even further. Right? So in that context, when you think about, and I joined Tanla relatively recently compared to the 3 decades of history as a Chief Customer Officer. And it has been a privilege to see the build and the deployment of Wisely AI platform. And it is an honor to have Vikram here as the CEO. And there is nothing better to hear that validation directly from the customer. And you heard the impact that it's having on the end users in terms of protecting them from scams and spams. In fact, the estimations are around, within 6 months of launch, we have protected almost $500 million in estimated losses. And then, as you think about where this takes us in the future, scams and scamsters are continuing to evolve. They're not sitting idle. And so we have to stay a few steps ahead in the innovation curve. That becomes critical. And when they're becoming more sophisticated, they're becoming more personalized, right? And they're actually probably also becoming more successful at times. So tonight, I will not, before I get into solutions, I want to focus on the problem. Is the problem really getting better, or is it getting worse? And why? So we have a distinguished panel here, and they all provide very different vantage points in the industry. Right? We have banking, who sees the transaction risk and, frankly, a lot of regulatory accountability as well. You have fintech, who sees a lot of velocity and scale, and they also are obsessed with customer experience. And then you have platforms like Amazon Pay that have the commerce side, they have the payment side. So they see a lot of behavior signals across multiple parts of the platform. Right? But from a citizen perspective, an average user, it's a seamless journey. They don't operate in this individually. So that's something that we will delve into. And as part of that, we would love to deep dive in terms of how the key stakeholders in this ecosystem need to work to thwart this menace that is in front of us. So with that, I want to welcome our distinguished panelists. Thank you for joining us for this discussion.
Thank you.
So let me start off with you, Ratan. Recent Supreme Court judgment a couple of weeks back talked about, I think, 54 or 56,000 crores being lost to scams. In fact, they called it dacoity. I don't think I've heard that term lately. I think it was around Chambal and all. I used to watch movies when I had heard that term. But it is of that magnitude and scale. So the question, Ratan, is why is this still a problem? And what is really not working?
So I think, thank you, Tanla Platforms, Carix, and ValueFirst for inviting us here. I think we all are users of Carix platform and bunch of solutions that you guys are providing. I must say that one of the things that I like about your company is ability to deliver solutions and not just keep it as a very transactional SMS delivery platform. I think that has been happening, and I think you guys really deserve a round of applause for what you are delivering in the industry.
By the way, that was unsolicited.
No, it was not. I mean, I was telling someone that I ran out of banks. I worked with HDFC, ICICI, Axis, and now escaped to my home state in Kolkata to join Bandhan Bank. So I think I've used in almost all these banks. So to that extent, it's been a great product and solution provider. So you see, there are two aspects of it. One is my customers are being defrauded using bunch of techniques, mostly senior citizens, and at times even IIT Bombay professors. So that's like the spectrum, you can look at it. They are being defrauded. The second is a lot of customers are now able to open accounts in most of the banking companies. They open banking accounts, and those accounts are being utilized to siphon up the funds stolen from somewhere and getting routed. So there are two parts of the problem in different sense. The bigger trouble is the second one. The second one is being done willingly. with a country having 1.5 billion population, there are a lot of people who would be willing to open accounts, and then across multiple banks, the India stack makes it pretty simple to have an account onboarded very quickly in just about few minutes, and then they go and rent that account and get a fee per month. And that number and the lure of making easy money is so high, and to me that's not working. So at one end we celebrate India AI Summit, all the global leaders, heads of states, the big AI celebrities are coming all over here, and we are talking about our countrymen who are actually defrauding poor senior citizens, and they have got hard-earned money of their entire life, and those are being siphoned up. So that's very, very sad to see. So I think what is not working is the mindset. It's something. It's not going to stop so soon. So that's a bit of a philosophical response, but I'll come to the bit more technical response a little later. The second is are customers getting defrauded using multiple things? That part I think it has got improved significantly, because most of the banks now have very sophisticated rule engines. So now as banks like ours, we process millions of transactions. Like I was just sharing that my UPI volume, we are just an 11-year-old bank, my daily UPI volume is something like 60 lakhs per day. Now the volume and velocity of transactions are very, very high, but the good part is that depending on the customer's profile, the customer routine transaction pattern, we can identify an out of routine transaction. If a customer happens to withdraw 10,000 rupees from a particular ATM, generally he or she withdraws from somewhere else, we can say it's a non-routine transaction. Someone withdraws 10,000, suddenly withdraws 25,000, we know it's a non-routine. Somebody never makes a rent payment, suddenly starts making a rent payment using one of the payment channels, we say it's out of routine. So once you have out of routine transactions, you are able to identify those. Sometimes we prevent those transactions, sometimes we go back, do enhanced due diligence and then allow. So that part is working fine, and the tools are getting more and more matured. AI is helping us to build the algo a lot better. So that part is clearly working. So if you are seeing the numbers, the fact that the velocity and the volume has gone up in terms of percentages is coming down. But the mule part of it is very, very scary, which is customer account being utilized as a rent. You know, other day, one of my employees from the fraud prevention team called up one of the fraudster saying that, you know, this is a senior citizen, you called so many times, you tried to defraud, why are you doing this? So his response was that, can you tell me how much money you make a month? It must be 50,000, 70,000? I'll give you double, you start giving me data. The fraudster is telling my employees, saying that, can you share with me more data? Don't worry, I'll not tell anybody, just give me data, I'll give you 70,000, I can even pay 1,50,000 per account. Now, there again, we are using a whole bunch of technology, including the algorithm in terms of the transaction monitoring algorithm to really prevent that. And I think Carix has developed one which you are implementing now, which is this anti-phishing tool, which has got some very interesting capabilities. If some of you are interested, you could talk to the Carix folks. I think that is quite interesting. They sit on the DLT platform, that scan that particular SMS, where is it originated from, some of the links that they provide in terms of collecting data, whether it is genuine or fake. They look at the keywords using some of the AI algo, and then come back and use some of the techniques to stop preventing and sending that SMS to the potential customer who could then get defrauded. So I think these are some of the things which are working. So largely that's what is the spectrum I would see, Anshuman. Bit longest answer, but that's what it is.
No, this is fantastic insight, and it's obviously great with stories. In fact, my parents are so scared they don't even use ATM cards, or because of the risk of being defrauded. In fact, they wait for me to come and they will do recharge on the phone, otherwise they are going to the stores to do it. And because this is becoming really scary, and especially vulnerable populations like senior citizens and all are particularly exposed. Let me turn it over to you, Neha, right? You sit at the intersection, you see AI patterns. I'm sure Amazon uses AI all over. You analyze behavior patterns and all across commerce, across payments, right? But why are we not able to stop scams across the whole journey?
So I want to kind of talk about some 3-4 aspects
sure.
that I think we've learned on why it is difficult. So first of all, I think scam is not at a transaction or the payment transaction level. I think it is a behavioral journey. It starts much before the payments really happen. And that's really where the fundamental issue is, and that's what I think as an industry we need to kind of solve for. The second, and if I kind of belabor on that point, I think the social engineering happens much ahead. It is not really when the transaction is happening or the payment is happening. The deepfakes, the voiceovers, the fake identities, the layering of transactions, I think this is all making it very difficult to stop scams at the point of the transaction. The second point is the data silos limits visibility. So while as Amazon we have really good data internally on the platform, but I think we miss the data of how these social engineering patterns are getting created outside of Amazon, and that kind of really prevents us. The third is the human psychology evolves faster than models. So while you can really build models, refine algorithms, but you can't beat the offensive AI, because the AI is being used on both sides. It's not that the preventive AI is working, there is also offensive AI. And the offensive AI works unconstrained, while the defensive AI has constraints of privacy, constraints of regulations, constraints of customer experience, benefits that you need to provide. So I think that's the third part. And therefore the last part, which is really the crux of the point, is that the AI is helping detect anomalies. It is not helping detect the malintent or the behavior. And unless until I think we solve the malintent or the behavior, I think the scams, the numbers that I think we heard are scary and will keep going. I think we are talking about senior citizens. Like sitting in this room, I have anecdotal from my own team members, like working in tech company, no payments, their families, their wives are getting frauded. Because it just happens at that scale that I think you just don't realize. Like you are saying, you're not, your parents are scared. I am scared of giving access to my family members, like younger kids in the family, older parents in the family, because it's just happening and getting manifested at that level that it creates urgency and fear. How do you fight urgency and fear? So that's my short answer based on my.
It's a fantastic response, and basically what you're saying is no one institution is seeing the whole journey. You're seeing pieces of it, but there are a lot of parts that are interconnected. Let me bring Vipin into the conversation. Vipin, you see a lot of transaction velocity and scale, but you're also focused on customer experience, because that can become a friction point if you do go overboard in times to protect. How does AI come in? How do you calibrate your model and AI to balance that friction, potential friction that potentially can impact your growth and legitimate customers versus protecting from fraud?
Thank you first of all, Ashutosh and Tanla Solutions for inviting me here. It's a privilege. We are also customers of Tanla, so happy customers. I think when it comes to AI and the usage of AI for fraud, I want to give some perspective with respect to first the kind of fraud. So we operate in payments and financial systems, and I think what's happened in the last 10 years is the financialization and digitalization of financials has happened at an exponential scale. And so many different entities have gotten interconnected, just like what you are saying, that a loophole in just one place is sufficient to create fraud and scam throughout the ecosystem. So one thing we have to be very clear that one entity cannot control scams. It's very, very difficult because like the experience that we have at MobiKwik is 99% of whatever scams that our customers complain of are not the money that they get stolen out of MobiKwik, but it is actually stolen out of some other bank and come into MobiKwik. So we are the recipients, and and we get the complaints that the money has come here and we need to take action, whether it is coming through UPI, coming through credit card fraud and all those things. Now, therefore, the standards of education and the standards of 2FA, second factor authentication, that need to be there, perhaps are not equally enforced. The awareness and the education is not equally enforced. And that brings me to the second point, which is that, the AI, the scamsters have also become very, very sophisticated. Right? In our company, and we're a fintech company, we employ so many smart people. There are people who have fallen fraud to scams where they got a WhatsApp from me asking to buy gift cards with my photo, and people have bought it, without trying to verify or seeing what the number is on the WhatsApp thing, because it's becoming, with AI, it's becoming harder and more sophisticated. The modus operandi of the scamsters is becoming extremely smart, and they are getting very, very smart at understanding the profile of the customer. It's not, they don't target everyone. They have a very clear idea on who is likely to fall for a scam. So there is need, for example, and I think there's an effort going on at the RBI's end, and the government side, to create a intelligence body which will share data across the entire payments ecosystem. I think it's called Digital Payments Intelligence Authority or something like that. And that is something that's extremely important, because until data sharing starts to happen at a India level scale, you cannot identify patterns. I can identify a pattern which works for me, but the scammers will get smarter because they'll keep changing their MO outside of MobiKwik. So it's very, very difficult to keep adapting to that. So there is a national level initiative that is required. The third thing which I want to say is on the LEA front. I think in the entire country, all the police, everyone knows where the scamsters are. And this, I am not able to understand why no action gets taken. It is the same places, it is the same origins, right? But somehow no action gets taken. And I think until there is fear of law, until enforcement has happened, that digital fraud, payments fraud will come. At our end, what we are doing is we are creating our own in-house models. So as far as technology is gone in terms of machine learning, and now with AI, we have created our own models trained on our own data sets, because they work best for our kind of transaction pattern. But they may not work best for the kind of solutions that other companies may need. In fact, we have explored solutions of fraud and machine learning from other companies, but they have a very poor performance because they are trained on some industry level data, which is not the same patterns that we get. So at our end, we are a tech company, we can adapt, but I cannot say the same for all the entities that, at least on the financial domain. And that's a big problem, because until there is a national, and I think the regulator is, especially RBI, is very, very concerned about this. I think we have heard now, and in my recent conclave where I went to, that they are saying that enough of making transactions easy. Now we need to go in the reverse direction. Now we need to make transactions a little difficult, so that there is some friction, because otherwise, people are losing money.
No, it's great points, and as you said, I think the silos of data that we have, and in fact, you talked about training the models. In fact, again, when we went to Indosat as well, you had to go and train them, even including language nuances as well, right? So these things become critical in terms of adapting. You mentioned about like RBI initiative and all, and I direct this to you, Ratan. Who ultimately owns the responsibility of protecting citizens at national scale? Because can banks do it alone? Can RBI do it alone? Or are you dependent on upstream and downstream signals like that you get from telcos, because a lot of these things originate from the channels? How should responsibility be structured to protect people end to end?
So I think Vipin spoke about that point, that look, for a fraud to happen, we know that somebody would have gone to an e-commerce platform to make a payment, and that payment is coming through a payment channel, and the account is held in Bandhan Bank, and the payment is made to let's say for a product, or through some platform the payment is made to an Axis Bank credit card. Now, and then the fraudster is actually sitting somewhere out there who is pretty much sort of somebody amongst us. Now, I'll give you a very funny story of I lived in Mumbai for 20 plus years. The local trains are full of, used to be those days, pickpockets. I came I was leaving out of India and came back, and I was going to meet a friend of mine. That was my first trip in the local train, and my purse got stolen. And he said, don't worry, how much money? I said, that's okay, but I had credit cards and all of that, so somehow I managed to block those cards. And he says, let's go to the police station. I said, but I had my identity cards there. He says, don't worry, it's fairly ethical pickpockets in Mumbai. You go and tell the police, you have to tell which train, which local train from what to what, and where exactly it must have happened, probably. So I said from Borivali to Andheri, it must have happened in between. It was a, 9:50 local train. So after 2 days, the police called me and handed over me the identity cards. So, so then there was nothing else there, but then I got back the identity card. So I think that's like, the police has an ability to really find out who the people are. And I find it quite baffling to figure out that this fraudster is somewhere there. The telephone numbers are issued, multiple of them by a telecom authority. The Aadhaar PAN cards were issued, which are used to get these sort of account opening and video KYC and the telephone numbers. Yet we are not able to find out who these people are. And technology has to protect all of that, which as all of us are saying that we are trying our best to protect. And the bad part and the sad part is that whenever there is a fraud happens and a customer goes to the regulator, like the ombudsman, and it says 20 lakh fraud, it's okay. Which bank it went from? It says it went from HDFC Bank. Where did it fall first? It fell in Bandhan Bank. Okay, two of you together 10 lakhs, pay it and be done with this. That's easy, isn't it? I mean, we of course are regulated entity. Regulator has no choice but to sort of do whatever best they can do, and which we do. And that's absolutely fine. We must have had some lacuna in our process. But how do the whole chain has to work together? I mean, including the citizens, instead of becoming gullible in terms of having the awareness about banking product, the banks and the payment companies and the country has to create more awareness. The police, cyber police and the local police, they have to work together. Ministry of Home Affairs is working very hard in terms of really making it happen. So it's an ecosystem problem. And I think if all of us come together, all of us create more awareness and make it really ruthless, probably that's the only way to happen. Otherwise, it's no easy solution, honestly.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. I'm told time is up. I wanted to solicit one or two questions as well from the audience, but in the interest of time, I'll just summarize this session. In fact, you all talked about going kind of end to end. It's not just identification using the AI models, but the prevention, the elimination, and ultimately holding the scamsters accountable, right, with law enforcement. And that comes a big part. There is law, and there's the enforcement of the law. Right? They can sometimes mean two different things. So ultimately, one of the things I hope...
Just one more point.
Yeah, sure.
In the name of hyper-personalization, the amount of data that you collect, and we have an ability to go back to Neha and say, you know what, you've been searching for a home, I can tell you which is the right home for you. That's great. Neha feels delighted because she can actually choose the right house, but the same data is getting misused to do other things.
Yes.
And as much as I can collect data as a bank or a real estate company, fraudster can also collect the same data. So as you said, the AI is on both sides and they are like more offensive,
yes.
right? Yeah.
And so it's a question of who stays few steps ahead of the other, right? What is striking from this discussion, hopefully, and I'm summarizing, is like, as you can hear, everyone is doing something, right? Oh, please go ahead. Sure.
Anshuman, we can take one or two questions quickly.
Sure. Please.
Can you please help the gentleman with the mic?
Singh was referring to the issue that need of an integrated approach for remote service or the remote training, because each financing institution are having their own trained model for fraud protection, and this is not the best way. So there should be some integrated approach. So I think the government of India is already working on that, and they have a digital payment intelligence platform. So it's not for that purpose, or you are referring to some other issue?
Sorry, is that a question? I think the question is, there are some government initiatives underway.
Initiative is already there.
Yes. Is it not enough?
To have an integrated model for this fraud protection and other thing, because you said each financial institutions are having their own trend model, and accordingly they are protecting their customer this thing. But if we have the integrated model, and government of India through their one company, they have initiated with the collaboration of
sir,
SBI.
RBI is working on Mule Hunter through RBI.
Mule Hunter is the initiative from RBI hub. So that is already all the banks are doing, and they are doing with their own 3-month, 5-month data individually, not as a complete umbrella like that. So for that, everything is coming in this digital payment intelligence platform. So with this initiative, that issue which you have referred will not be addressed to?
Yes, absolutely. I think, at least I feel that there's a strong potential, because for the first time, data across the financial ecosystem will come together in one place. And I think that is a big deal. And then once that data comes together, then hopefully the best people will work on it and understand patterns at a national scale. Because the problem in digital is everything is connected. So you have to study it in an integrated manner, and I am very hopeful that that approach is going to yield results.
Thank you for that question. And we are obviously hoping that all of these show results, but at the same time, we're talking about national, but scammers are not limited to even national geographies. They're international as well. Right? So the scope and the breadth, the surface area of the threats are only expanding. Right? So we have to really look beyond. And if I may, from my personal experience, one of the things is, in the world of AI, data is actually the differentiator, not so much the models, because all public LLMs, and the willingness to share the data itself is a potential barrier. Real-time data. And this is where it's not about just banks and financial institutions. It's also potentially telecom, right? Because they see a lot of initial signals in terms of messages being sent and communication and so forth, as Vikram just talked about as well. So let me summarize again this session. So
can I ask one question?
May I request you to take it offline, please, because of the time constraint, if you don't mind.
Okay.
Thank you for cooperating, sir.
It's great to hear. I'm sure there's a lot of interest in this topic, and it shows the resonance of what we are discussing. So again, I think to summarize, as you said, the attack surface is all interconnected, but our defense is right now fragmented. Right? And therein lies the opportunity. Right? And while the next frontier cannot be just more smarter individual AI model, it has to be really coordinated intelligence. Right? And that obviously has to happen real time. It has to happen across the ecosystem, and it has to happen within the guidelines of our national level trust architecture. Right? So with that, I will want to thank you to all the panelists, and also for all of you to participate in this discussion and really contributing to this, to shaping what the future looks like, because this is really not just trust, this is the foundation of creating the digital economy and the growth that underpins it. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much, all the panelists. And Anshuman, may I all request you to stay on the stage for a quick photograph? Okay. Wow. From using technology for transaction monitoring and layering it with AI, to solving for behavioral intent and offensive AI, along with solving for customer friction on customer experience by layering it on technology and captive models, along with regulatory tenets. It was a very insightful and a very meaningful panel. Thank you very much, each one of you. Thank you. Our last session for the evening is one of the most interesting ones. It's what we do on our third element, or the third pillar of DNA, that is impact. It's the impact spotlight. Wisely.ai, our client's perspective. Very few leaders in India telecom landscape carry the depth of experience and the institutional weight that our next speaker brings to the stage. As chairman and managing director of BSNL, He has orchestrated one of the sector's most compelling turnarounds, driving the rollout of India's first indigenous 4G network and restoring the organization to a clear path of growth, profitability, and purpose. With over 3 decades of service spanning TRI, the government of Tamil Nadu, and an advisory role to the government of Uganda, recognized with the Vishisht Sanchar Seva Padak for distinguished service and a gold medalist in electronics and communication engineering, he remains one of the most consequential voices in India's telecom and digital governance story. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Shri A. Robert J. Ravi, Chairman and Managing Director, BSNL.
Thank you. I think it's a good introduction, but thank you for it. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a great pride and prestige to be around for this August gathering and to speak at the summit also. Though the topic just generally talks about what we did for the customers, I thought let me more expand it further to see how today we are protecting our customers. As we all, I think we have heard a lot about the funnels and what has happened, how many phishing is happening, etc. Let me put the other side of the story. When we started this journey long back, maybe a year and a few months back, the early IMCs, one of the key reason we came up was, as I think what Indosat CEO was also mentioning, how do I protect my customer? Protection of my customer from spams and phishing was a very, very important aspect for us. Even though we were rolling out 4G, we were parallelly, as we used to always think, we had 3 distinct pillars of operation. One was our network infrastructure and rollout. Second was our customer experience. And third is my rural development infrastructure. In these 3 areas, how do we bring AI and ensure the end customer is satisfied? That is critical for what we were doing and what we wanted to do. One of the first things we did parallelly doing with the 4G was also launched. One of the critical things was we have been hearing, I think we know, as part of the government of India from the Department of Telecom, we were taking a lot of steps in protecting customers. Customer protection was one of our key things. Today we have the Sanchasa, we have different apps, which really helps the customer to provide. While that happens from the government side, coming from the network, the TSP, can we not do something different? That's what first we started. Initially we thought on the SMS side. In the SMS, can I assure my customer, if you are a BSNL customer, you will not be phished or spammed? How do we do it? This was the question put. And thanks to Tanla and your team, we had a lot of discussions. Of course, we did a POC with a couple of our vendors, and we found this vendor was good. And then we started the journey together. Today, I'm proud to say that very confidently, at least the SMS level, we can confidently tell that if you are a BSNL customer, you will not get any links where you'll be probed to click and take you somewhere and where the payment happens. That's not going to happen. This is in BSNL today. This we have achieved in phases. We don't want to jump. We are taking baby steps as a stage. The next important step we are thinking about, that's what I was talking on the network side. Can I bring AI? In bringing AI in the network side, I can even get patterns, customer patterns, the calling patterns, network initiatives. We were able to even see exactly how and where most of the complaints were happening in the network. And this also helped me for tweaking my entire setup today, where I'm very sure at the end of probably the study and whatever research we are right now going at on the AI, as a user, if you are a BSNL customer, you can intelligently speak to your RAN. When I tell intelligently speaking, it could be various things. Say you can request a specific dedicated data, specific dedicated voice traffic. That means today I am in this place, I need to video stream, I need a 1G, so not a 1G, at least an 100 M throughput available all the time. It will be made possible. So that type of a user-enabled platform which we are building, that will control not only from the customer angle, from the network angle. If this becomes successful, today, no customer in future, when this reality actually comes in, no customer could be so easily fished or spammed. That's the way which we are trying to go ahead. Of course, going into what exactly happened was, I could go the last one, we can see that, the user impact. We were able to authoritatively say that so many number of connections, to close to 280 million spans we have stalled today. This is on one side. Now we are integrating this particular aspect on a customer experience platform also. How do we benefit out of it? In my customer experience today also, we have brought in AI. I think most of you have aware, we have something called the AI Vani system. It's just a Vani which comes and says, whatever you want, you can speak to the particular agent. And then we brought in something called a BSNL Recharge Expert System. It's a complete AI driven. So when user, suppose even as a user, because spam, suppose when he stopped the spams from the SMS side, next thing we have to concentrate is on the data side, which again I'm talking, of course we are speaking to you all, Tadla. How do we do for the data side? Data is not only on WhatsApps or social media. How can we expand the horizon of this particular area? That's where what we thought, can I build in intelligence into the system itself? So when he wanted to do probably recharge, or even it works as a worm in the network to easily identify the sites which needs to be blocked, which should not be available for my customers. Such a sort of an independent, intelligent network needs to be built in, which we are targeting up. That's the second pillar. The last pillar, before I wind up, is going to be the rural thing. The rural side, with BharatNet coming in at a very big space, rolling out of BharatNet's network, we are trying to see, when you're closely going close to the customer at the end, we are seeing a lot of traction coming in. Can I put edge data centers? Using these edge data centers, can I really run what we call even SLMs? Today we talk about different LLM models. These LLM models require a lot of information. The data is a key engine for it. And we are all privacy to see, why should I share my data? So this is the next concept of what we bring in, what we call a federated learning. So your data resides with you. I just learn your data and I federate over it. So all this is possible when I go to the rural end on the edges. So there I'll be able to protect the customer to a next level. I'm very sure, I think we can keep talking on this very interesting topic. But since the time is short, I thank the organizer for giving me opportunity. But my request to you all, still there is a lot of work to be done. Unless we have built a system where we confidently say our citizens that you are 100% safe in my network, our job is not done. And this is possible only when we bring in